Yerushalmi Demai. We are holding on Samach Daled on the base. Okay, we're right towards the end of the sixth perek. Is everything okay there? Yeah?
So Kol Haloshon is limited to 1 hour sessions.
Okay. Tani Wibla. So Samach Daled on the base. La Yema Adam, a person who's obligated to give some of his wine for the taxes of the king, should not say La Chaveroi to his friend who's a Nachri, Hilach Masayim Dinar, you take 200 dinar, Ushkal Al Yadi La'itza, you pay my taxes to the store of the king. Basically, you're appointing the guy to be your shliach to pay the tax. And when the guy gives the wine, Yain Nesach, it's as if the Jew is paying back his debts with Yain Nesach. You can say, look, here's 200 dinar, you exempt me from my obligation. So you're not appointing him to be your shliach to pay the tax. And when the guy happens to give the Yain Nesach, it's not as if it's the Jew who's paying back his debt of Yain Nesach. Similarly, a person shouldn't say to his friend who's a guy, here's take 200 zuz, pay my way the taxes to the craftsmen, like to the guild. Basically, you're appointing the guy to be your shliach to pay the tax. Again, when he gives Yain Nesach, it's as if you're paying your debt with Yain Nesach. You say, look, here, take the money. You exempt me from my obligation in the troughs, in the guild. And in this situation, you're not appointing him to be your agent. And then when he ends up giving the Yain Nesach, it's not as if it's the Jew who's paying back his debt with Yain Nesach. Right? Hadran Alach, Amakabal Sadeh. Okay, now we're going to talk about the new perek. We're going to discuss about calling a name to Truma, Maisa, etc., Demai. When you're invited out and you'll make a condition, maybe before Shabbos, about what's going to happen on Shabbos, right? And let's see what happens. So Hamazmin, so first of all, you can't separate Truma and Maisa on Shabbos, whether it's definite Tevel or Demai. But what can you do if you're invited out on Shabbos to an Amaretz who's not believed on Maestros? You have to take Maisa on the food that you're going to be presented with. So Hamazmin is Chaver Shechel. Someone's invited you to eat with you on Shabbos. Someone's invited you to eat with him on Shabbos. For who? And you, the guest, you don't trust the Balabais and the Maestros. And therefore you have to take Maisa on what you're eating, but you can't take Maisa on Shabbos, so what do? You say on the Friday, what I will separate tomorrow from the food that I'm provided, let's say 100th, which is going to be separated at the end, that will be Maaseh Rishon, and then another amount of it to make up the 10th will also be Maaseh. Samach will be next to it. And then you say, that first bit that I made Maaseh, that 1%, also Churas Maaseh will now become Churas Maaseh on it and on the other 9 remaining Maaseh bits which are next to it. And after that, you can say, Maaseh Sheni is going to be dry by. Maaseh Sheni will be on the north or the south of the food, and will be redeemed onto the money which I've set aside. And by doing this condition before Shabbos, you can separate on Shabbos your 1 in 100 from your portion. It will have a name Churas Maaseh, and then you're allowed to eat from the portion.
Even though it's not
yeah. What?
Even though it's Yerushalmi, he doesn't know what
he doesn't know what he's going to get. But this is a Tanai that you're allowed to do. Of course, it relies on Breira. It relies on what we say that by you calling a name, and it's only going to be separated tomorrow, you're going to later on tell me these are the portions that will have the name of yesterday, and it's Chal on Shabbos. Kriyas Hashem, calling the name wasn't done on Shabbos. Okay? We are relying on Breira. We're saying what was decided later on was the amount that you decided earlier on. And at the time when you said it, it wasn't clear what your portion would be. Actually, he says here it's not necessarily dependent on Breira, because you don't need the Maaseh to be Chal, the Mafreya from the Friday. The Maaseh is not going to be Chal on the Friday. It's enough that it's Chal on the time when we know what food it's talking about. So this tonight helps even if you hold Ein Breira. So it's going to work from Shabbos. It's not working from Friday. We're not saying when I end up eating and I separate a portion, it will be Maaseh which I've separated from today. We're not saying that. It's only going to work on the Shabbos, right? I'll review it. The Demai. Our Mishnah is talking about Demai. If it's definite Tevel, you can't make a condition on the Friday. Now, we seem to understand Demai, you can make a condition on the Friday, but Tevel Vadai doesn't help. You have to separate, right? But then the Gemara says, Masisa Amra, but the Mishnah says that tonight helps Afilu Bevadai. We find elsewhere, even Vada, the Tanin Taban, we've learned that highlight to Eidim Shal Teva observers, you got proper Teva in your house on Friday, but who base Medrash or Besada, you don't have access to them, you're in the base of Medrash, in the field, you won't have time to separate them before Shabbos comes in. You can say the following: that 2 figs that I'm going to separate out of the 100 there, Truma, 10 will be Maser Rishon, 9 will be Maser Sheni, and so even proper Tevel, a condition helps from the Friday. Now you're going to tell me in Temple about Demai and Ankayamin, you're going to tell me talking about Demai there. Less Yachid, you can't say that. So Tanina, we've learned how you Demai. There's another section there about if you had Demai. So the Sefer is talking about Demai. The Reish is obviously talking about proper Tevel. So the Gemara answers, Rav Yechon said he's dealing with Demai. He's saying, look, the Mishnah here is talking about Demai. He's talking about the Demai in our Mishnah. He was talking about Demai and not Tevel Vadai. But usually the condition will help with Tevel as well. You hear that? The condition will help with Tevel as well. Our Mishnah happens to talk about Demai. Why is there in our Mishnah a difference between the two? Because Demai you can make a condition of something that's not yet yours. So the guest can make a condition on the food he's going to receive for lunch, despite the fact it's not his yet. But Vadai, when it's definite Tevel, it has to be in your domain. Okay? If it's in your domain, then you can make it tonight even with Tevel. Rav Yanai, Habalei tonight Vadai. He made it tonight from Erev Shabbos on Tevel, which was in his domain. He had no time to take Ma'aser before Shabbos, but he was still worried to rely on this tonight, because maybe the tonight doesn't help with Vada, only with Demai. So he asked, can I be attacking the fruits on Shabbos relying on the tonight? Amalei, he said to him, it says, you shall take a Maser, the word Kala Yamim, Afida b'Shabbos. It's talking about Maser Sheni, talking about taking Maasros on Shabbos. You should be careful, don't remove your Einik Shabbos just because you didn't take the Tzikana for the Tevel. You're allowed to take Maser on Shabbos. The Chachamim forbade it. So this drasha is talking about making it tonight and Erev Shabbos. Mahu dechames mekel baloshi talibi. If that was the case, that I was right when I made it tonight, now I saw in my dream like the tax collector's stick. It sounds like maybe from Shemayim I was relying on something I shouldn't have done. Amalei says the stick you saw in a dream was a hint that Asid ad lahadik Torah is when you're going to be a ruler on the Jewish people. Rav Oshia, he made a proper Tanai Erev Shabbos on the vegetables of Tevel, which was in his home. He had no time to take Ma'aser before Shabbos. One woman cooked from that species of vegetable on the Friday, and she has mistakenta. She forgot to be misaken it from Tevel. She never made it tonight. Asked the Gab she comes before Rav Oshia to ask, how can she allow this food for eating this vegetable she's cooked? The Shalach Rav Oshia sent the Zabdi ben Levi to Yitaken la, that he should be masakin her vegetable, he should be mafresh, he should separate from his vegetables to cover her vegetable, based on the Tanai that he had done. Now how can he be masakin for her? How is that going to work? Surely, Zavdi bar Levi, did he not need to be mazakeh for Rav Oshia with the vegetable of this woman in order to be masakin it? Basically, Rav Oshia made it tonight. It will help for his fruit, right? It's not going to help on anyone else's fruit. So therefore, he should be mazakeh first the vegetable to Rav Oshia. No, but he should. If you want to take masa for someone else, they have to have a share in your tanai, or at least be mazakeh them the vegetable or something. Give it over. He's taking masa for her based on his tanai, but he needs to be mazakeh the vegetable to Rav Oshia. So it should become his, and then it's going to help. The Tanai is going to, he's made a Tanai, but how can he make the Tanai for other people? Someone needs to give him a vegetable from this woman, or on behalf of this woman, for his Tanai to help. So that was the question here. What do they say? If he would be Mazaka in the Yerek for Rav Oshia, he can be Matakin it relying on the Tanai, although the vegetable wasn't in his Rishus at the time of Tanai. Now, Tevel Vadai, Tanai only helps on Paris which are in your domain. But if you're masakin with your fruits and they're in your domain, B'Shas Tanai, then they don't need to be in your. One second. the fruit that's musukan doesn't need to be in your domain, because you can be master from your own for other people, but you need to be mezaka in the vegetable before Hafrosha. You have to pick it up on behalf of someone else. You understand? So that's what we're saying here. For the heter of the Tanai to help, you have to pick it up, just like with the Eruv. When you make an Eruv, sometimes someone else picks it up on behalf of other people. Yeah. So here as well. So Rav Zira boy, he asked him, that's me. He says, "Man, what are we talking about? If he made a condition clearly on all that he will be mafresh for himself and for others, and ain't so this goes to be yerek. He doesn't have to have a be mezaka in the vegetable. He can take maser for others based on the tanai that he's made. If the condition was only on himself and not for others, then then you need to be mezaka him with the vegetable of this woman in order to be mezaka on Shabbos. So the Tanai Rav Oshia was maybe for himself and for others, so you don't need to be mezaka in the vegetable. Basically, he must have said it for everyone. Rav Yaakov Azadim Shem Ravo Itatavat. He asked on the dinner of Oshia, he left it as a question without an answer. Zavdi ben Levi Rav Oshia b'Yaka. But Zavdi ben Levi was not zoich in this vegetable for Rav Oshia with his vegetable. How can he take masa on relying on his condition? Now Bavo wasn't happy with the chiluk of Rav Zira. He held even if you clearly make a condition for you and for others, a tanai doesn't help for other people unless you're mezaka them, right? You lift it up on their behalf, the fruit and the condition. Therefore, Ravo argues on Rav Oshia, and he holds that the tanai doesn't help at all for the parents of others, unless the Bala Tanai was Zoicha in the fruit. He has to pick it up on her behalf before the Hafrosha. So he's saying, look, it doesn't help unless you really pick it up on their behalf. Oh, Rav Yana, another din about a condition. You have to remember your Tanai on Shabbos. When you're doing your mafra, you're separating the food, you have to remember you made the Tanai. Not only you have to remember it, you have to whisper it and say it over as well. It looks like you're taking Maser on Shabbos if you mention the Tanai with your mouth on Shabbos. He says, we can push away, whoever says this, we can push it away. You don't have to mention the Tanai with your mouth on Shabbos. Okay, now we said a guest can separate maybe 1/100th for Trumas Maser. So Rav Yirmiyah Bar Rav Zira, another question. Now you separate 100th, you're going to throw that food away. Trumas Maser is forbidden to Israelim. You can't leave it on the table because the Balabais might eat it. You need to throw it into the ground, destroy it. We are over on ruining food. Amalei says Mefarah, you break it up. Kol Shahu. You basically break it into crumbs which are less than kazais, and then you can destroy it. Because the issue of destroying food doesn't apply to crumbs which don't have a share of a kazais. Rav Yirmiyah Bar Rav Zira, Ve'ena Asam Shum Gazel. Now, why are you not stealing? Your balabais, your host gave you to eat, and you're intentionally taking this last bit of food and you're throwing it away. Amalei says, right, so the host wants the guest to be happy. So he's not particular if he wants to destroy some of the food for the sake of Trumas Maser. Okay? From the words of the Chachamim, we see they argue on this idea that the Balabais wants the guest to be happy. So Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, and they stayed with the host. A person went who said Lashon Hara to the host. Amalei says, you know something, these people here, you check them, you watch them out. You know something? They suspect you on Maestris. You see, you watch them, you see before they eat, they will take Meiser on their portions and separate Trumas Maser. So when he hears this, what does he do? Yosef le Meinerlein. He sits there and he looks at them to see what they're doing. When they realized that he was watching them, they made as if they're playing with their food and throwing it one to the other. And through this they will masakin the food. They decided that the crumbs which fell from the food will be Trumas Maser. Now, according to Zira, the Eina Rosa, you told me the host is happy for what the guests do. Is the host not happy? Does he not want the guests to be happy, to allow them to do what they want? Why is he checking them to see if they take Maser or not? you have to say he doesn't agree that they should separate Trumas Maaser from the portion. So the Gemara says, right, of course he wants that they should be happy. He doesn't want that they should suspect him on Maasros. So he's checking to see if that's right. But the idea of destroying the food, he's not so particular when a person is happy as a result. Okay, so he didn't want to be suspected. That was the thing. Okay, now we said a guest can make a Tanai on Erev Shabbos on the condition to eat and with his host on Shabbos. The Gemara brings a brayso which argues, Tani would learn Rabbi Yehuda Isa. Rabbi Yehuda forbids you to make a Tanai on Erev Shabbos. My time, what's the reason, Rabbi Yehuda? Yesh Adam Masne Adar She'ena B'Shusai. Can you make a Tanai on something that's not yours? Now the brayso adds on, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's another solution for a guest. My Rabbi Yehuda, so the guest can acquire fruit before Shabbos from the same shop where the host acquired it, or ma'asran, and take maaser from his fruit on the host. Because since he's mastering from his fruit, he can take maaser of the host or the guest, even on behalf of the host, even though that they are not his. So what's he doing? He's going to the same shop. Yeah, and take maaser on behalf of the fruits of the host. He can take maaser for the fruits of the host, even though they're not his. You can take maaser from something for not yours. I mean, how can you take maaser from fruit of others without them knowing about it? So the Gemara answers, despite the fact that usually you can't, but here they allowed it. Rav Shem Rabbi Yochanan, they treated him, the hosts and the guest. The guest with the host Amaretz, it's like you're selling tevel to your friend b'shoigeg, where the seller is allowed to be mafresh his own maestros on behalf of the purchaser. You sold your friend tevel. Run after him and you should run after him and tell him, you need to be misakin the fruit. But what happens if you didn't find him? He didn't find the buyer. If you know the fruit is still around, you can take maaser for that fruit. If you think it's not around, you don't take maaser on it. And if you don't know if it's still around or not, you still should take maaser for that fruit. And that maaser which your mafresh, they also need maaser taken for them. It's a suffix if they've got a name Maaser or not. Maybe they remain Tevel. So you bring other Tevel, and you're masakin this Maaser here, you're masakin it from elsewhere. What do we see in the Brisa? We see, if there's no other solution to be masakin the fruit, the Meicha can take Maaser from his own fruit without the owner knowing about it. So in this situation of the guest, who the host invited the guest, and the host is Namaretz, and the guest wants to eat with him on Shabbos, there's no other way to be masakin the food. He can be mafresh from Friday on the food that he's going to eat. Okay? Halacha base. Now the Tanai, what I'm going to separate. That's all very well when it comes to food. You can separate a bit before you eat for Trumas Maaser, leave it on the side, but it doesn't really fit in with drinks because you can't really start pouring a bit of the drink out. How are you going to do it? In front of your host, you're going to pour the drink down. So the Mishnah says, what was the right wording? If you want to drink wine in the Balabais' house, they pour the guests some wine. Then, the guest says, that which I will leave at the bottom of the cup, that 1 in 100. Hareu Maaser, that's Maaser, Bashar Maaser, and then another 9 portions of Maaser, Samchla next to it. And then he says, Sisi Maaser, that which I put Maaser first. Also, Trumas Maaser, that becomes Trumas Maaser on all that Maaser section. And then say Maaser Sheni, the piv will be at the top of the cup, basically in the top of lip, and will be designated onto money that I've designated. So based on that tonight, you can drink the wine that they poured, you leave a bit behind at the base, and that will be the Trumas Maaser. So the Mishnah is telling us the nusach of the Tanai on Friday, in order you can drink with the Amoretz. Now the Lashon Mishnah, they poured in the cup, sounds like at the time of the pouring of the cup on Shabbos. So Kinemas, this is the way to learn it. Ule'inyan mazigas hakois, if they invite you to drink on Shabbos, you make a condition on Erev Shabbos. That's what it means. Now, what I'm going to separate at the end of the cup. Manan Kiyom, what are we talking about here? If he wants the Trumas Master Bichal Mikvah before he drinks, then Mashke Me'oravu, then it's Chulin and Trumas Master mixed up. When he drinks, it's all mixing together. The Trumas Master, which is at the base. If he's saying the Trumas Bichal when he drinks it, so the time when he drinks it, there's no Trumas Master. Lemafreya Teva Shasa. It turns out it was Tevel all along. At the time when he drank it, it wasn't Truma yet, so he drank Tevel. Elakian we talk about Ba'omer, where he says the Truma should be Chal Mikvah Lekesha Eshter. What I'm going to leave in the cup at the end will be Trumas Maser from the beginning. Before I finish it will be Trumas Maser. So in this situation, the Maestro is Sachal before you drink. But there's no mixture of Trumas Maser and Chulin, because the part which is separated from Trumas Maser is what remains at the base of the cup when I've finished drinking. And whatever you drink until then is Chulin. You hear that? So the Trumas Maser will be right at the end of the cup, wherever I leave at the end. Now, we said an Amoritz is not careful with Tumah and Tahara, and the food and drink are Cheskas Tomei. And therefore, Trumas Maser, which belongs to the guest leaves it behind on the cup, is probably Tomei. So therefore, when you hold the cup in your hand, after there's a bit of Trumas Maser is left in it, and Trumas Tomei is also because of Muksa, so you're moving stuff which is Muksa, it's not fitting to be eaten. You can leave a bit of Chulin in the cup in addition to the Trumas Maser, and because the Chulin can be moved, you can move the whole thing. We learned elsewhere, Truma Tamea Ima Tahira. You can move Truma Tamea with Tahira, Ima Chulin, and with Chulin. So you can move anything which has Truma Tamea, if it also holds a bit of Truma Tahira as well, or a bit of Chulin as well. Yeah? But now it's not the same. It's not the same as the Mishnah there. Tamam. Now Truma Tamea, when you move that, usually where we quoted where he said it's allowed, it's l'tzorech tahira. It's for the sake of something which is tar, or for the sake of chulin. That we need the truma tahira or the chulin, and you can remove the truma tamea together with it. But here, the way we're explaining, you're moving the chulin l'tzorech tamea for the sake of carrying truma tamea, because you don't need the chulin in the cup. Whatever's left is just so that you should move the trumas maser, which is tamei. You can't learn from that Mishnah to allow it, and so the question comes back: how can the guest move the cup with the truma tamea on Shabbos? You have to say at the time of the Tanai, the trumas maser will take effect before it leaves the cup. So there's no trumas maser on what's left. Only when you pour it from the cup. As long as it's in the cup, you can still drink it. You hear that? It's only when it leaves the cup that it becomes forbidden. As long as it's still in the cup, you can drink it. Okay. So according to the conclusion then, Trumas Maser is chal on the leftovers after the guest finishes to drink. And if before he finishes to drink it got a bit spilt, there's nothing left, there's no Trumas Maser, it turns out he ate tevel. So the Gemara brings an argument with Machlokes Tanaim with elsewhere whether you have to worry about this situation. I know whether Tanaim will argue in this situation of our Mishnah, the ones who argue there, whether they'll argue here. Because Taman Talinan, we've learned later on, if you take on Erev Shabbos 100 lug, Yain Meben Kutim, which is wine from Kutim has got a din of Tebel, and you didn't have to separate Maestros until Shabbos comes in, you can give a name to the Maestros on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmashos, because you say, 2 lug that I'll separate after Shabbos will be Truma Gedola. Another 10 lug that I'm going to separate will be Maser Rishon. Another 9 lug is Maser Sheni. And after that you can drink the wine. And you leave at the end the various parts which you fix for Truma and for Maser. Tani, we learnt on a brisa on that Mishnah, Rabbi Yosef and Shimon Eisrin, they forbade you because they're worried, Shemati Baka night. Maybe the barrel will break, or the jug will break, and the wine will get spilled before you mafresh the maestros after Shabbos. Then it turns out you had tevel all along, because it comes out that the name that was there was never chal, and you have to separate maestros before drinking the wine. Now Mishnah allows the guest to drink wine with the balabais relying on what he's left at the end for Trumas Maser, like Rabbi Yosef Shimoni. This is not like Rabbi Yosef Shimoni, this is like the Tanakama in our Mishnah, because according to Rabbi Yosef, we have to worry, maybe the thing will break before you finish drinking. And therefore you drank wine, Demai Lemafreya. Yeah? So it sounds like it might break. So we have to say our Mishnah, which allows it, is relying on what's going to be left at the end. Rabbi Yaakov Aridi says, everyone agrees with the cup. You don't have to worry it'll break. Shuhu alatar. You're going to drink it there and then. In that short period of time, we're not worried it's going to get spilt. In the situation of our Mishnah, which is like a jug of wine, which you leave it for a long time, and you're separating maestros after Shabbos, and you're going to drink from it on Shabbos bit by bit, then they're worried the thing might break. Meanwhile, therefore, our Mishnah's din is according to everyone. Okay? Next one. The Mishnah discusses a worker, the balabais gives him a fixed amount out of the fruit, and he wants to take master on his food. So he doesn't trust the balabais on the maestros, he wants to take master on what he eats. He takes one grogris out of the one fig out of the 100, which the balabais gives him to eat. And he says, this fig, zu, the teisha abois achreha, the following 9, asuyas maser, I'll treat it as maser vision on the tishim shani eichel, on the 90 that I'm eating. So out of this 100 here, I'm separating 10. The zu, and the first one that I took, asuyas churas maser alein, is going to be churas maser for this maser section. Right, so on the other 9, which I made maser vision, this one is going to be the churas maser. A maser sheni v'achrei nois, and maser sheni will be on the latter ones, which is the 9 which come afterwards. And it is redeemed onto the money I've designated, and then you can eat from the figs. So you stop eating at the end, you leave one fig behind to make sure you don't eat that last fig, right? And then you can eat the 99. You're not allowed to take for yourself grogros out of the maser. He said, you're not allowed to reduce from the food that the balabais has given you, even one fig. You're the worker, you should eat all the food you get. You'll have less energy to do the work for the balabais. If you eat a little bit, you'll be weak and you won't work properly. So you are chayav to get another grogros, another fig, and eat it for the sake of the one that you've separated as Trumas Maser. You have to replace it with another one so that you're eating properly. Okay? Rabbi Yosef says, you shouldn't have less from the 100 that you're given, but for another reason, the basin, the balabais has to pay the worker on what you are separating as Trumas Maser. So the worker is allowed to take for himself an additional fig from the balabais to replace the one that he's separated as Trumas Maser. So even if you separate one and you don't eat it, he should give you another one to replace it. Okay. Now the lashon here was the worker doesn't trust the balabais. It sounds like we're talking about a balabais who's namaretz. He's not believed in maestros. But even with a balabais who's a chaver, our Mishnah is still relevant, because it's permitted for the balabais to give his workers who are poor demai, where it's not exactly paying a debt. You're allowed to give the workers demai. So Rabbi Elazar Shem Rav Oshia also we treated it as if you don't trust the balabais. Even the workers doing work with a chaver is included in our Mishnah. And what is like doing malacha for the amaretz? If you want to take peres demai, you get on what you get from the balabais. You're stopping yourself from eating one fig, whatever it is, corresponding to the amount that you've separated for Trumas Maser. So we treat him as if he doesn't believe the balabais. Okay. Now in the case of our Mishnah, as long as the worker hasn't eaten the fruit, we don't yet know on what the maestro sachal. After he eats from it, it turns out lemafreya that fruit that he ate had a hafrosha on it. The word discusses what's the din of the Trumas Maser if he didn't actually eat from the fruit to the end. So everything got burnt, let's say. Or the other way around, what's the din on the peres if the truma got lost before you ate the peres? So pshita and milsa, one thing is clear, nisrafu, if everything got burnt, the peres of the balabais, before he managed the workers to eat from them, then a truma, or that means the Trumas Maser, but tibula remains tebel, because the separating maestros was on what he's going to eat. If he didn't eat in the end, then it's not chal the maestros. And what about the other way around? Nisra for her truma, if the truma got burnt before the worker managing to eat from the fruit, does the truma has to be there at the time when the birul takes place, when it's chal, and it's kodesh lemafreya, it's kodesh backwards, and if it got lost before this birul, maybe it's not chal at all. Or do we say since the birul is lemafreya, it comes out retroactively that what was the situation, therefore it's chal the truma from the beginning. It doesn't have to be valid at the time of this birul taking place. So what we're asking, does it work backwards? Yeah, retroactively, does it work? Okay, so if it got burnt, then the truma does it remain tevel? Or maybe if it got burnt before the worker was managing to eat from it, does it still need to be around at the time when it's chal? So more answers lekeshe achlu haperes. When the pears are eaten, katra truma namafreya. The truma is chal retroactively, even though it's not chal at that time. As long as it was chal retroactively, that's good enough. Right? It's chal namafreya. You don't need the maestros to be there at the time when the chulin is rectified. Through this, we're using this. Basically, it was kaddish from the beginning. Once the parasite is cleaned, and this barrier, we've worked out that these are the fruits. It comes out that all the fruit was already chal from the beginning. Okay. And you set aside one fig. What's this mean? Lashon chaysech. Chaysech with the sin. Where are you setting aside one? From what you've been given to eat, you take out one fig for Truas Masa, and you eat the remaining 99. Now, Yerushalmi Gamliel holds, the worker can't remove from his food that he's been given, because it will cause him to not work so well. The Gemara brings the brisa, which discusses this. Tani, we've learned, don't start working the cow hard work at night, and then hire it to others by yom in the day, because it'll be very tired to work during the day if you're going to work it at night. It won't work properly. Don't do work in your own house at night, and work for others during the day. Don't starve yourself, and chastise yourself when you're working for others, because again, you'll end up not doing the work for the balabais. He went to a place, he found a teacher who was fasting and everything. He says, okay, what's going on? He said, why? Because Chaim, he's fast, I always fast. Said to the teacher, you're not allowed to fast. Because if we're working for a man person, we're saying you're not allowed to starve yourself because you won't work so well. When it comes to teaching Torah to the children, like you're not allowed to afflict yourself so that you won't reduce in your work that you're doing. Okay? And we said in that Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says, don't set aside food, based in. Rabbi Barashi b'Shem Rav, tonight based in it was a condition to take Trumas Masa Michel Balabais. So that's one din. The Trumas Masa should be paid by the Balabais, and Masa Sheni Michel Pile, Masa Sheni of the worker. So here, the Chachamim were Masakin, the Trumas Masa, the worker separates between Masakin his food, it's on the Balabais' account. Right? It's on the landlord's account. He has to, the one who hires the worker, he has to pay for that. Despite the fact that Me'ik Hadin, the Balabais is not Mechuyev. He says, well, the fruit's all Maaseh already. Maaseh Sheni, the remaining din stays, is on the worker. Maaseh Sheni has to pay for the worker pays for that. He has to redeem it from his own money. Okay? You take wine, you're buying wine from the Kutim on a Friday. You forgot to move second it till twilight. You can't be mafish now, the Trumas Maestros. You want to drink it on Shabbos. What do? Say, 2 lug that I'm going to separate after Shabbos out of the 100 lug. Harehen Truma. They are Truma now in this wine, which is 1 in 50, right? So it's 2 lug out of the 100. But Asara and 10 that I'm going to separate out of this 100, they are Maaseh, it's Maaseh Rishon. And then after the 10, you've got to do on what's left. You have to do a 10th, which is Maser Rishon, Maser Sheni. But Tisha and the 9 out of the rest of the wine is Maser Sheni, right? And then you can start drinking from the wine. And Motzi Shabbos, you'll separate the wine what's remaining, the Truma and the Maestras. It'll be Chalam Mafreya, that the wine that you're separating at the end was there as Kedushas Trumas Maestras from the beginning. And the wine that you drank was proper Chulim. Tani, we learned in the Brisa, Zu. This din of the Mishnah that you can drink the wine on Shabbos relying on the Hafroshas Maestras which we done on Motzi Shabbos is like the view of Rabbi Yosef Shimon Eisri, and they forbade it. Maybe the jug will break before you're managing to be mafresh Trumas Maestras. Then it turns out you were drinking Tevel all along, and in the end you never separated from Maestras. It turns out there was no Maestras here at all, and therefore the wine was Tevel all the time. Now, even though Rabbi Yosef Shimon said you can't rely on it tonight because the chashash, the thing will break, the Gemara says that's not the main reason. The main reason of the thing will break is a far-fetched reason. There must be other reasons to argue on the view of Rameh. The Gemara says each one had their own reasons. Like Tamadain to Tamadain. And really, Rabbi Yossi's reason was not like Shimon's reason. Tamad Rabbi Yossi's reason that tonight doesn't help. He held to call a name on Masa, you need to have Masa in a fixed place, a designated place. In this case, the Mishnah, the Maestras are not Chal till after Shabbos when you separate them, when you physically separate them. And therefore the Trumas and Maestras can't be Chal at the time of Tanah and Erev Shabbos because we don't know yet where they'll be. Now that's not Rabbi Shimon's reason. He held that calling a name for Masa helps even if we haven't designated the place. So the Talmud of Shimon, the reason of Rav Shimon, that we're worried, Shema Yishkach, maybe you'll forget to be mafresh the maestras from the wine after Shabbos, but Yishnes Hashah, you'll drink the rest, and you won't be mafresh the maestras, and it'll come out that you drank Tevel of Afreya. Therefore, Shimon forbids you to rely on this condition. Now the Gemara brings a proof to that which we said in the view of Rabbi Yossi, that he held you have to be Mavarea, the place of the Maser, when you're giving it a name. Like we learned to Rabbi Yossi, it fits in what we've seen in Tosefta. Maser Sheni Shebechav is there. Maser Sheni, this barrel B'chulal Al Sela Shebekizeh will go on money which I will check out of this wallet. Chila, you have redeemed the Maser Sheni. Rabbi Yossi Omer Lo Chila. He says no, you haven't. At the time of the redemption, it's not clear which coin we're talking about. So the Kedushas Maser can't go on something which you haven't yet clarified what we're talking about. So it comes out from this price. The Rabbi Yossi holds you can't have Maser on something which is not Mavura. We don't know what is going to be going on. Rabbi Yossi agrees. Shem Amar, if he said, look, the Maser Sheni in this barrel will be Mecholo ala Sela HaYeshana, the old coin in his wallet. And there's only one old coin in the wallet. Or if he said, Ba'al Dina HaYashan, it should be redeemed on the old dinar in this wallet, and there's only one dinar there, Shechila, then it's effective, because you have said which coin we're talking about for this redemption. And Moedim Chachamim Rabbi Yossi, the Chacham agreed to Rabbi Yossi Shem Amar, he said, the Maser Sheni in this barrel, Maser Sheni, in this barrel, we Mechul ala Sela she'etam miyad b'ni, on the coin I will take from my son, or ala dinar she'etam miyad b'ni, on the dinar I'll take from my son, and then if you didn't take it, even if you do take the money eventually from your son, if he's prepared to give it to you, Loi Chilal, it doesn't work. Why? They weren't yours at the time of your designation. And you can't start being machalal on something which is not yours. So that's what he's saying. It's got to be on something specific, something finite. Now we brought the reasons of Rabbi Yosef Shimon that you can't rely on Kriyas Shem for Maestras. It depends on separating Maestras in the future. We're worried the thing might break. Gemara brings a Mishnah which doesn't worry about this. We learn elsewhere. You leave fruit and you're going to separate Trumas and Maestras, and on all the fruit, basically all the fruit of Tevel you have, you say Trumas Maser on this Tevel will be in this fruit which I designated. And that's what you always do. You separate money always from Maser Sheni. I'll always redeem my Maser Sheni onto this money. And then the din is, mafresh alem b'cheskas she'en kayamin. You mafresh on them, you assume that the fruit is still around, or the money that you have is still around, even though you can't see it. You don't have to check, maybe it was stolen or lost. But now this Mishnah is the local of Yosef Shimon. Surely, it's not like Yosef Shimon, they were worried the jug might break. This Mishnah holds you don't have to worry, or maybe the fruit's not there anymore, or the money's disappeared. We can assume that everything's there. Rav Zehira said, Tamam, in the situation of Yosef Shimon, Chashash, the jug might break in the future, and then the Maisvus, the Mafreya, and his Kalkulu. It turns out there was a problem from the beginning. It was Mafreya, there was a problem with it. And therefore, this Chashash, we can't rely on Chazaka. You can't put something on Chazaka as far as the future is concerned. But the Mishnah in Gittin, even if the fruit gets lost, the Maisvus that your Mafresh may have done from the time of the loss of the fruit, Ve'elach. This Kalkulu, they were Mekukal and not Chal. They were Chal originally, but when the food got lost, that's the whole problem. But the Maishas that were Mufresh before that are not Misbata and Mafreya. It's only from the time you lost the food. So when the owners come and put Maser on the fruit that they've set aside, you don't have to worry where it will get lost in the future. Because even if it gets lost, it will not be Mavata the Maishas and Mafreya. You only have to worry, maybe they're already lost now. And as far as this chashash, we say no, you rely on chazaka, it's still around, and you assume that it's still around, you don't have to assume it's lost at this moment. Now the Gemara brings a Mishnah Meila, which is connected to our Mishnah, but I think we will stop here. What's that? Do you want me to carry on? Oh, a few more lines. Tamad Talila, we learned to Meila, Pruta shal hekdesh, shenafla l'techa kis. Right, you've got hekdesh money, which fell into a wallet with other money of chulin. Oisha Amma, or the person said, Pruta b'kis hazeh hekdesh. A pruta in this wallet is hekdesh. You don't say which one. So you've got now a mixture of hekdesh money and chulin money. After that, you use the fruits for your own purposes. So it's machlokes Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. According to Rabbi Akiva, even if you use one coin in the wallet, you're over me'ilah now. But the Chachamim say you're not chayv me'ilah until you spend all the money in the wallet. But the Tana, we've learned in the explanation of the argument, when Rabbi Akiva said, use the first coin, your moil, it doesn't mean it's definite me'ilah, but al rishayna, on the first coin you spend, mo'al b'safek. It's a safek me'ilah. It's a safek with this coin. Was this the pruta of hekdesh or not? But al ashniya, and on the second coin, which is, let's say, the last coin in this situation, if there's only two coins here, and you've already spent one, now you're spending the last one, then mo'al b'vadai. That's definite me'ilah. Now you definitely spent all the money on hekdesh. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. That's Rabbi Akiva. Chachamim said, al kulon, on spending all of them, let's say on each one, apart from the last one actually. So al kulon, one second, they're saying, al kulon, on each one, apart from the last one, loy ma'al should be. But something, you've not been over me'ilah yet. Al achraina, but on the last one, that's definite me'ilah. Ma'al bavada, that's definite me'ilah. I'll review that. Avoid Rav Matani explained. Adada tema. This din, the Chachamim said, if you spend each one from the first coins, no me'ilah at all. That is, kashayu esa. Let's say there were 10 coins in the wallet, or any other number more than 2. So every coin that you used, we say, well, it's from the Rav. The Rav is chulin. And the one who spends it is not over me'ilah. Aval im hayu shtayim, if there are only 2 coins, there's no Rav chulin here anymore, then even the Chachamim agree, al rishayna ma b'safek, the first one you're over me'ilah out of doubt, mal hashniya ma b'vadai, and on the second one, that's definite me'ilah. Okay, we'll stop here, okay?